The Gilded Cage. Astrid Valmont stood at the grand balcony of the Valmont estate, her gloved fingers grazing the cold iron railing. Below her, London spread out like a labyrinth of secrets and shadows. The year was 1783, a time when the aristocracy clung desperately to their power as the tides of change swept through Europe. Astrid's family was no exception. The Valmonts, once revered as one of the most influential noble families in London, now teetered on the edge of ruin. At just 22, Astrid was the last true hope for her family. Her beauty was the talk of the town. Porcelain skin, striking emerald eyes, and raven-black hair that cascaded down her back in elegant waves. But beneath her delicate exterior lay a mind as sharp as any blade. She had spent her life observing the games of power played by her parents, uncles, and cousins, learning that survival in the noble world required more than beauty or wealth. It required cunning, resilience, and an unrelenting will. The political web. The Valmont estate was hosting yet another grand ball, a desperate attempt to maintain appearances. Astrid moved through the gilded halls with practiced grace, her gown of deep emerald silk catching the flicker of candlelight. The scent of rosewater and spilled champagne lingered in the air as the elite of London laughed, schemed, and traded whispers behind painted fans. Her father, Lord Reginald Valmont, was in the center of the room, his booming laugh masking the tension that lined his features. He had amassed debts that could not be ignored, and rumors of the family's financial instability were beginning to spread. Astrid's mother, Lady Eleanor, a cold and calculating woman, had placed her hopes on securing a profitable marriage for Astrid, a union that could restore their crumbling empire. Tonight, the prospective suitor was none other than Lord Edgar Blackwell, a widowed earl known for his vast estates and darker reputation. Astrid had met him briefly in the past, and his presence had always unsettled her. He was a man of 50 with piercing eyes that seemed to strip away all pretense. Astrid despised the thought of becoming a pawn in her parents' schemes, but she also knew the stakes. If the Valmonts fell, they would lose everything: their name, their home, and their legacy. A dangerous ally. As Astrid stepped onto the ballroom floor, a man approached her, his movements smooth and deliberate. He was unfamiliar, a stranger with a strikingly handsome face and an air of quiet confidence. His dark hair curled just above his collar, and his sapphire blue eyes glinted with intrigue. "Lady Valmont," he said, bowing low. His voice was rich and velvety. "I don't believe we've been introduced. I am Sebastian Hawthorne." Astrid arched an elegant brow. "Mr. Hawthorne, it's rare for me not to know every guest at my family's gatherings." "Then I suppose I should feel honored to be an exception," he replied, a small smirk playing on his lips. "I am a friend of Lord Blackwell." The mention of Blackwell sent a chill through her. "I see," she said, her tone cool. "And what brings you to our humble abode tonight?" "I have a penchant for observing people," he said, his gaze steady. "And I must admit, you are by far the most fascinating person in this room." Astrid's heart fluttered, but she masked her reaction with a practiced smile. "Flattery will get you nowhere, Mr. Hawthorne." "Who said anything about flattery?" he murmured before disappearing into the crowd. Whispers in the shadows. Later that evening, Astrid found herself standing alone in the gardens, the soft glow of lanterns casting flickering shadows on the hedges. She needed a moment to breathe, to think. The pressure from her parents, the looming threat of Blackwell's proposal, it was suffocating. "Lady Valmont," a voice said from the darkness. She turned sharply to see Sebastian stepping out from the shadows. "You have a habit of appearing uninvited, Mr. Hawthorne," she said, her voice sharp. "And you have a habit of seeking solitude in the most dangerous places," he countered. She narrowed her eyes. "Are you implying I'm in danger?" He stepped closer, his expression turning serious. "I'm implying that Lord Blackwell is not the savior your family believes him to be." Astrid's breath caught. "What do you know?" "I know that Blackwell's fortunes are built on blood," Sebastian said, his voice low. He has a history of removing obstacles in his path. And your family's precarious position makes you a very convenient asset. Astrid's mind raced. She had suspected Blackwell was dangerous, but to hear it confirmed was chilling. Why are you telling me this? Because I've seen too many innocent people destroyed by men like him, Sebastian said, his eyes locking onto hers. And because I believe you're strong enough to fight back. The betrayal. Over the next few weeks, Astrid began to uncover the truth about Blackwell with Sebastian's help. They worked in secret, poring over old records, speaking with former servants, and piecing together a web of corruption that painted a damning picture of the Earl. Their late-night meetings grew more frequent, and with each encounter, Astrid felt herself drawn to Sebastian. He was unlike any man she had ever known, intelligent, passionate, and unafraid to challenge her. He treated her as an equal, a partner in their dangerous game. But just as they began to piece together the final puzzle, disaster struck. Blackwell discovered their investigation. Astrid returned home one evening to find her father's study ransacked, her parents pale with fear. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" her mother hissed, her voice trembling with rage. "Blackwell has threatened to ruin us if you don't accept his proposal." Astrid felt the weight of her actions crashing down on her. "I can't marry him, mother. He's a monster." "You will do as you're told," her father bellowed. "This family's survival depends on it." Desperate, Astrid fled to Sebastian, seeking his counsel. But when she arrived at their usual meeting place, she found Blackwell waiting instead. "Well, well," he said, his voice dripping with malice. The little heiress playing detective. The twist. Blackwell revealed the ultimate betrayal. Sebastian was not who he claimed to be. He was no ally but a spy working for Blackwell, sent to manipulate Astrid and ensure she complied with the Earl's plans. "No," she whispered, her heart shattering. "It can't be true." "Ask him yourself," Blackwell said, gesturing to the shadows. Sebastian stepped forward, his face a mask of regret. "Astrid, don't," she spat, her voice trembling. "Don't you dare speak to me." Sebastian's betrayal cut deeper than she thought possible. She had trusted him, allowed herself to care for him, and he had used her. But as Blackwell gloated, Sebastian turned on him. In a flash, he disarmed the Earl, his movements swift and deadly. "Run, Astrid," he shouted. She hesitated, her emotions warring within her. But she knew she had no choice. She fled into the night, the sounds of their struggle fading behind her. The aftermath. Days later, Astrid learned that Blackwell had been killed in the confrontation. Sebastian had disappeared, leaving behind no trace. Her family was safe, their debts erased, but the cost had been too high. Standing on the balcony of the Valmont estate, Astrid gazed out at the city. She had survived, but the scars of betrayal and loss would remain forever. The gilded cage of her aristocratic life had been shattered, and for the first time, she saw the world for what it truly was, a place of beauty and danger, love and treachery. And though her heart was broken, Astrid vowed to rebuild, to rise from the ashes of her family's legacy. For she was a Valmont, and she would not be defeated.